Thank you, Madam President. As you know, the crime epidemic has swept Alaska over the last several years and has been well covered. Most of the news coverage has actually focused on the crime in Anchorage and in the Mat-Su Valley. But we can't ignore that the law enforcement in rural Alaska is perilously scarce. Madam President, permission to read from my crime survey from last session?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam President. And as a reminder, this had 60,000 reach, and over 1,000 Alaskans sent me their stories, including this woman whose story I'm going to read. I live in a bush village. I was sexually assaulted. Prior to that, I was stalked, but there is no law enforcement in the villages to stop a stalker. There are 3 troopers assigned to 30 villages. They will only come out if there has been a murder, sexual assault, or assault in the first degree. They don't come out to prevent these things from happening. All villages should be given more funding directly from the Department of Public Safety so that all villages can have a trained tribal force police, a VPSO or VPO. When VPOs are not trained and are paid minimum wage, they can't respond to a violent crime and stop it while it is happening. After I was assaulted, I had to fly into Bethel on a scheduled mail flight. Troopers had told me not to change my clothes, so I waited 2 hours for the plane with clothes that had been on me when I was attacked, with my attacker's bodily fluids in and on my body for evidence. The trooper on duty told me he couldn't send the trooper plane out for me because they didn't have a pilot on duty. In my traumatized state, I was forced to sit next to a man, and when I became upset about it, the pilot threatened to put me out of the plane at another village airstrip, which would have stranded me. The man who assaulted me was able to make a plea deal and will only serve 20 years and be eligible for parole in 7 years. He will only be 32 when he gets out. I guarantee you he will be back in that village assaulting women. Imagine being me for a minute. While you read this, preparing for a trial, rereading the statements I made immediately after the assault, in the days leading up to the trial, reliving the assault in my memories, and dreaming about the assault. For 4 months getting ready, then having the trial postponed, month after month. While the Alaska law allows for convicted rapists to get 99 years, most are given much shorter sentences. So these predators are then able to return to the villages and are young enough to continue to assault women. These rapists get to return to their lives. Meanwhile, my life has been forever scarred by this monster. And knowing he will continue to hurt women is part of the trauma that I get to learn how to live with. End of the summary, Madam President. Madam President, crime is happening across the state, and Alaskans of all backgrounds are feeling powerless. The disparity of public safety between rural and urban Alaska is unexcusable. This is a complicated problem with no easy solutions. We have a long, hard road ahead of us, and as we work to bring public safety to all Alaskans, it must start by supporting the crime bills that are moving through the process. Thank you, Madam President.